the Congressional Black Caucus is holding the floor through a UC process, trying to get unanimous consent is what UC stands for a Democratic amendment on Donald Trump's budget, which he's named the Big Beautiful Bill. We've called it the Big Ugly Bill. We've called it Trump's bad BBL. And what we need to understand is that $1.3 trillion is going to be reallocated from Medicaid and SNAP and other programs to support people who are considered the least of these, if we are to use biblical terms, and frankly, just moved over, transferred to the wealthiest Americans among us, the top 20%.
To Bezos, who just bought Venice.
When you consider, no, it's actually people with less money than that. But when you look at the gap between the folks who are in six figures, and in the bottom half of that 20%, and the folks who are in the lower rung of the economy making under $30,000 a year, the bottom 20%, it is astounding. Yeah. And the gap between the rich and poor is only going to be exacerbated by what they're doing in this bill. And I think the worst thing is, we keep giving people these high hopes that we're going to be able to change their minds, that we're going to be able to appeal to the inner moral compass of Senator so-and-so. It is the most harmful legislation that will be passed in modern history. But what does that mean? Like, when we use these terms, people don't know what the largest transfer of wealth means. It means they are literally stealing money from programs that will pay doctors so that your kid who has asthma can be seen, even if you are not on Medicaid. Once the accounts are jacked, we had doctors on talking about this. Once they fiddle with those accounts and there's no money at this community health center in Jackson, Mississippi, or wherever, and there's no Medicaid to support that, there's nothing to close that gap, it shuts down. And we have to be honest about that. So instead of all of your efforts being in call your member, which you still should, ask this member of Congress to change their mind, soften their hearts, you still should. Maybe the most vulnerable of the GOP can find some commonality with the most vulnerable Americans. But if you can't, what is the community resource that already exists that we can tell people about?